So as a former Democrat who left the party like 10 years ago, I know firsthand how much of an impact, Democrat policies have, Democrat Party has had on black people, the black community. And the older I've gotten, the more I've read, more educated myself, on Democrat policies and liberal policies, the more I see how much they've impacted the black community. And this is not to absolve black people from, accountability, because right, they voted Democrats in, and they've obviously had to be accountable for the things that they've done. But we all know that when it comes to Democrats, man, they're really good at manipulation and being able to create policies that make you think that you're a victim and that you need to be you need help from the government. And in this video, I want to talk about two things that I feel have been two of the most impactful policies or methods to create this so-called black fatigue, where a lot of people are tired of the way black people act, crying victim, committing crimes. And I think two of the most important things that and there's a lot more, right? But there's a list. You can name a list of reasons, but I think for me, two of the most important things are, one, of course, lack of fathers in the household, right? Like that's number one. We all know that the lack of fathers in this household has been a lot, has contributed a lot to black people acting the way they are today. The other thing is minimum wage laws. Okay, so let me start off with obviously lack of fathers, because that's an obvious one. But the fact that we Democrats push this narrative that fathers are not necessary, right? They've convinced a lot of black women to think that hey, you don't need a father, you don't need men around, because obviously when you look at women, right, their first objective is what? To find security, right? Their job is to seek security. They either seek that security in a husband or the government. Okay, and the government has done a great job of saying that you don't need a man. Like, just kick him out the house, and don't worry, we'll provide you with healthcare, we'll provide you with housing, we'll provide you with whatever things that you need in order to live your life, right, and take care of your family. Okay, and of course, when you look at this, you see, and we all understand, like, when it comes to when we look at women are very good at the nurturing aspect of parenting, right? And fathers, all right, they're needed for the discipline, right? The guidance, okay? Like, these are very important things for children, because what do they say, right? They say fathers keep little boys out of jail and little girls off the pole, right? Because they provide that discipline, they provide that guidance, that necessary thing to make sure that these kids understand that this is how this is what it's like to have an authority figure helping you guide you through your process of becoming an adult. And you see that when the fathers are not in the household, a lot of children don't know how to deal with conflict. Okay, like you look at black kids, when it comes to dealing with conflict, they resort to violence, right? If they had a father in their life, that father would teach them how to deal with the emotion, right? Because they don't know how to deal with the emotion. When they get into conflict, they resort to the violence, because that's the only thing they understand, right? Depending on how they were raised. Okay, so, and if they had the father would teach them how to deal with that conflict, how to deal with their emotion, and how to not have to always resort to violence, right? But when you remove the father out there, then the child is being raised by the streets, and for a lot of and we all know that, right? Because we all understand that having the father there is necessary. But we live in a society where fathers are deemed insignificant or unnecessary. And we already see the results of that, especially in the black community. Okay, and the second thing is, of course, the minimum wage laws, right? And I know for a lot of people, like, oh, what do you mean minimum wage? Like, people need to increase the minimum wage in order to feed their family. Yes, I understand that. However, first of all, very small percentage of people are on minimum wage. Okay, and when you really study and understand minimum wage laws, the people that it hurts the most is low-skilled workers. And those tend to be teenagers, okay? And of course, the people that it hurts the most is not just low skilled workers, but black low skilled workers. Because if you're talking about increasing minimum wage, and you're looking at a business, they're not going to hire that teenager, right? They're going to hire someone that's older, that has more experience when it comes to working. So as a child, we've all been teenagers before. If we don't have nothing to do, you're going to find something to do. Okay, and someone that obviously, when I was a teenager, and I consider myself a good kid. I didn't really get in trouble that much, but there were things that I did a lot that weren't good, right? It's because you're bored. You don't have anything to do. And I'm someone that comes from a 2-parent household. But when you're bored and you come from, these neighborhoods where, I didn't come from a crazy bad neighborhood, but I didn't come from the greatest neighborhood, and there are bad kids around. And when you're around that, you're like, all right, I might as well do that, okay? Because you have nothing else to do. And what helped me get out of that was, one, going to church, okay? And you learn, as you get older, you learn, all right, this is not something you should do. And 2, playing sports. So it was something that kept me busy. And once you have something to do, you don't engage in bad behavior, criminal behavior, right? You don't do bad things because you're busy doing something else. So these are the 2 things that help make sure that I was doing the right thing. So, but there's a lot of kids that don't have this, right? They don't have anything to do. They can't work. Right? They don't have any jobs. So it's like, what are you going to do? So if you couple no fathers, and you couple, not being able to, get a job and stay busy and make money for yourself. And so you can develop some responsibility, which is a good thing which is one of the good things of getting a job. You're like, all right, what do I do? So, and there's no wonder why you see so many kids out there, like teenagers, like they out here robbing stores, right? They out committing acts of violence because they got nothing to do. Right? They're not playing sports. They have no father figure. They don't know how to control their emotions. So there's no wonder why you see so many kids that out here committing crimes. Because it's crazy. Like when I look on the streets, you see the kids out here robbing jewelry stores. They're out here robbing people. They're riding dirt bikes. They got weapons on them, and they're just teenagers. As a teenager, these are things that I never thought about engaging in, like getting involved in. I've done like little, little stuff, but these people committing crimes like to this, violent crimes is something as a kid I never even thought about doing. But you see that in society we're living, that this is what a lot of these kids are doing, right? These are the activities that they're engaging because they have nothing to do, no fathers, right? Not being busy, they're bored as hell. So the streets are telling them, all right, why don't you just, why don't you go rob somebody? Why don't you go commit these crimes? So the streets are basically raising them, not fathers. Right. And you wonder why so many people, when it comes to this black fatigue, they're just tired of it. Like it's almost like every time you're looking at these in the news, there's a crime, you see it's black people committing these crimes. And I say that they're the only ones committing crimes, obviously, but they're committing at such a high rate. It's almost exhausting. It's like, damn, like another one. And we know it's not all black people, right? We know it's not all black people. It's the certain group. It's a certain cluster of group. These YNs, right? They're so-called scholars, okay, that are committing these crimes, right? Because most people, black people I know, they're not out here doing that, okay? But I think it's gotten for a lot of people. It got to a point where it's just like, and you look back, it's just the Democrat Party. They're the party of crime. They're the party of violence. You see this all the time when you go into these cities, right? And then you see why Trump trying to clean all this up. It's because these Democrats don't care. They really don't care. All they care about is making sure that there's chaos within these communities, and then they say, oh, you know what? All right, we need more programs, more money to help these kids because they obviously racism or whatnot. Right? They need more money in order to create programs for them. And what do they do? Nothing. They just take the money and pocket it. Because we know that money doesn't go to actually any programs that's going to help, these kids stay out of trouble. Because what they really need is the father, right? They need a father, and they need jobs so they can stay busy. But they don't do that because when you look at Democrat policies, all these policies do it just make things worse. All right. So those are my thoughts on it. Interested to hear your thoughts. Make sure you leave a comment down below with the like button, share, and if you haven't done so, make sure to subscribe. So guys, take care. Have a good one. Later.